We've got an interesting show, to say the least, mapped out for everyone today. But before we jump into it, I just want to say thank you to all of the new subscribers we picked up over the last week. You can see we picked up 300 on the dot. So if you subscribed over the last week, thank you very much for joining the channel. And if you have not subscribed, help us out by hitting that sub button and getting us to 20,000 subscribers. Let's talk about the Browns potentially signing Ezekiel Elliott. Now, you guys know here at the channel, we are a news and rumors channel, so we hit on everything on the internet. But this rumor is definitely a rumor with a lowercase r. So I first saw it on Twitter a couple of days ago, and I didn't give it much weight, but now it's picked up some traction. So I thought, okay, let's spend 10, 15 minutes or so talking about the idea of signing Zeke. Now, the reason why this story came to the surface was there was an article that came out from Sportskeeda, and this is what they included in that article. A league insider told Sportskeeda that the most likely landing spots for Ezekiel Elliott are either the Cleveland Browns or the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this comes from Robert Gullo from Sportskeeda. Now, I don't know really much about Sportskeeda, nor do I know a whole lot about Robert. So I figured, okay, let's be some Scooby-Doo people over here, and let's do some research. Now, I found Robert's Twitter, and it's got quite the bio, right? Diehard Jags fan from Connecticut. I don't know many diehard Jags fans, period, let alone those from Connecticut. He's also a huge Steelers fan. Okay, so diehard Jags and Steelers fan. Dreams to work for ESPN or become a radio host. Good dreams right there. So he doesn't seem like he's a reporter who's going to have great sources tapped into Zeke, right? I don't know what connection Zeke has to either Connecticut or diehard Jags fans. It'd be one thing if this guy was his neighbor from Ohio, but that's not the case. Or, a Columbus reporter or something like that. So it's Sportskeeda. Do with this what you will in terms of deciding whether or not this is a real good source or not. I think our friend Robert just wanted to get some clicks, and it definitely worked because people are talking about it. So let's at least indulge the idea of the Browns signing Ezekiel Elliott. If it does happen, I don't think it's because Robert was the first one on the trail and we got to give him credit. I think he's probably just throwing shit at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. But nevertheless, there are some Vegas odds out there on which team will be the next to sign Zeke, or Zeke's next team odds. And the Browns are fifth. So Chargers at plus 275 makes some sense, especially if they were to move on from Austin Eckler, or if they just want to pair him with Eckler. Also, remember his old offensive coordinator from Dallas, Kellen Moore, went to the Chargers. So Chargers make some sense. Bills, they always could use some help in the running back position. Chiefs, sure, why not? Ravens, I get it. And the Browns at plus 700. Let's talk about the Brownies and Zeke. So if you don't remember, he was released by the Cowboys earlier this offseason to save $11 million for Dallas. Now, I know why Dallas released him. He was going to cost him a lot of money, like $15 million, and he is coming off a career-low 3.8 yards per carry. He's also getting a bit up there in the age column. He's just 28. I think if you polled your average NFL fan, they would think Zeke was much closer to 30 than he really is, which is he's just 27 right now. But Zeke is unfortunately going through a bit of a downfall, right? Look at what he has done over the last 4 seasons. For a guy that's washed, he still had 12 touchdowns as a washed running back. So as far as washed players go, he is like on the Mount Rushmore of washed players. Now, what's interesting is the Browns, if they were looking to add a running back, would want to add someone who brings a receiving threat, because that's the one element of Nick Chubb's game that he maybe isn't the best at compared to some other backs out there. You're not really getting that with Zeke, right? Zeke had 92 yards last year through the year. Now, he's had some good receiving years, okay? He's actually, unfortunately, just had a bell curve. He's only gotten worse and worse as the years have gone on after peaking in 2018 when he went over 500 yards. But you can see his average from 2019 to 2022 has steadily decreased from 7.8 all the way down to 5.4. So you're not getting a great receiving threat with Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think Zeke is washed and out of the NFL. I think he could still be a very productive and valuable member for a team. I don't know if the Browns are that team. Now, what say you? Should the Browns sign Zeke? Give me a simple Y for yes or N for no. I've been blabbering for what, 3-4 minutes at this point? I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments section. So, when it comes to Zeke, what does he bring to this Browns offense that the Cleveland Browns running back room is missing, right? They're looking for maybe a receiving threat, right? So when Deshaun Watson's in the pistol formation, you don't have Nick Chubb going into the flat on 3rd and 8 or something. Now, Zeke, like we just went over, is not that type of player. So Zeke's going to be great for goal line still. He had 12 touchdowns a season ago. He's also one of the best run block or pass blocking running backs out there, which I think fans sort of overlook because there's no stat for how often a running back picks up a linebacker blitzing. But that's a very important thing for coaches, and Zeke is definitely one of the best in the business at that. Now, the Browns running back room, I could see them adding another back. I thought they would have done it in the draft. So the fact that they didn't, I don't know if that means that either A, they like their running back room and that was never the plan, or B, they just never found a good running back when they were picking and they didn't want to reach on someone just for the sake of picking a running back. Now, of course, they do have Jerome Ford, who they picked last year in round 5. And Jerome Ford, in his rookie season, showed a lot of promise in special teams. He had some big, kick return plays. He also was great in the preseason, but there's a lot of guys who are great in the preseason. That does not always carry over to the regular season. Now, I don't think anyone can go out there and say definitively one way or another that Jerome Ford is going to be great or he's going to suck in 2023. Why? Because we don't know much about Jerome Ford. We have not seen enough for anyone to walk away from the Browns 2022 regular season and have a definitive decision on Jerome Ford that they can actually back up with even just a little bit of reasoning, right? Your gut may tell you, and maybe your gut's right, but we had 9 carries for Jerome Ford last season. Like, we don't know if Jerome Ford is good or not to be an RB2 in this league. So I have to, default to the coaching staff that sees him more than just one Sunday a week for the fall. They see him every day in practice and in the offseason OTAs, and they've got a much better picture about whether or not Jerome Ford is primed to be an RB2 in the NFL and take some off Nick Chubb's plate. Now, before we get to talk about Kareem Hunt and some more on Zeke and whatnot, there is a great t-shirt combo sale going on with our friends at Fanatics. Now, you have to use our link to get not one, but 2 shirts on sale. So go to chatsports.com/CLE combo. I've got that link in the comments and the description of today's video. So when it comes to adding Zeke, I think the biggest reason that you could really argue isn't, well, he's going to be great in the receiving game, right? He's not. And, that's not what the Browns would be signing him for. I think the only logic that you could really employ to argue to sign Zeke is if a Nick Chubb injury were to occur, I don't know if Jerome Ford is ready to take on 25 carries a game here. So Nick Chubb in his career has been relatively healthy. I say relatively. He's been more than relatively. He's been very healthy. He didn't miss a game his first 2 seasons. Then in 2020, he missed 4 games. 2023, he missed 3 games. Last year, he did not miss a game. So you should not have, with good reason, concern about Nick Chubb missing time. Can it happen? Sure. Injuries are unpredictable. Injuries suck. I definitely wouldn't rule out a possibility of an injury, but you don't have this long history of Nick Chubb always good to miss a couple of games a season. That's not the case for 24. I think the Browns should just wait and see how Jerome Ford, and heck, even John Kelly, like a 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick by the Rams a couple of years ago and has been on the Browns practice squad since then, look through OTAs, maybe the first week or 2 of preseason. If they don't look good, and they don't look like guys that you believe could either A, fill in for 2-3 weeks max for Nick Chubb, or B, look like they can handle an RB2 workload, sure, give Zeke a call and see if he wants to come up to Northeast Ohio and come back to the Buckeye State. But for now, I don't mind being a bit patient and seeing what you have in Jerome Ford and John Kelly and not rushing to sign Ezekiel Elliott, who I think is still going to be a good running back for some team. He won't be, the Zeke that we all picked in the first round of fantasy football anymore, but I still think he can be a very good contributor for a team. Now, I know there is a good fraction of the fan base that still wants to have Kareem Hunt come back, and At one point, I was the biggest leader of that fraction in terms of not trading Kareem Hunt. But after last season, I mean, look at the stats. They kind of speak for themselves. Whether it's Zeke or Hunt, neither player averaged over 4 yards a carry. And I included their longest rush of last season because it's not pretty. Like, you're not getting much explosiveness anymore from guys that are closer to 30 than 20, with 24 and 27 yards as their longest run in 2022. Now, if you had to pick a running back to sign, who would you want? Kareem Hunt or Ezekiel Elliott? Hunt definitely brings more to the table with his receiving abilities, but at the same time, both guys showed that they were on the downfall last season. So unless a change of scenery for Zeke or a change of, role / utilization for Kareem Hunt happens in 2023, I don't have a lot of reason to believe that either of these guys are going to be all that good in 2023. So with that being said, I know it's not the fun, sexy, let's sign a big name, sign Ezekiel Elliott, he's going to be great. But I'm passing on both of these guys right now. I don't see why either of these players come onto the Browns roster and make this team all that much better, actually. These might just be big-time names at this point and not big-time producers, which at the time, it's always hard to say this, but there are lots of instances where you sign a big-time name and then that guy kind of stinks, and it's like, where, how? It sounded so great in the offseason, but now it's October, and Zeke's averaging 3.3 yards a carry. So for that reason, I'm going to pass, both coming off career lows last season in yards per carry, yards per reception. I'd rather see what you have in Jerome Ford. Now, quick PSA here. We do not have a live show tomorrow, unfortunately. I've got a wisdom teeth removal at 9 a.m., so that's going to suck. I put it off. I don't know if anyone else did the same thing, but I was supposed to get them out like right around 2019, 2020. A pandemic hit, so how could I, in good conscience, go to the dentist or oral surgeon? So fast forward 3 years, and my teeth started to really hurt like a month ago, and it was like, yep, it's time to get them out. So I waited until after the draft, and unfortunately, tomorrow is the day. So I'm dreading it, but unfortunately, no live show. We're going to sign off and see everyone later, though, later this week.